Hello, BookTube. It's Friday, so it's time for a bit of a Friday reads and a few other books that I've got, sort of almost completing the 9 sort of bargain books that I've been able to find off Amazon. When I say a bit of a Friday reads, because it's been an odd week, but I'll get to that in a moment. Things have been, obviously, it's been a strange week. Here in the UK as well, the COVID cases are just skyrocketing. Hospitals are just packed full. It's pretty scary what's going on. And over the next week or so, it's just going to get worse because these are all cases that people got during the holidays, during sort of Christmas and New Year. And they didn't obviously follow rules. So hopefully it'll peak and then come down. But time will tell. Because if it continues to peak and continue to go up, it's pretty scary. Like watching some news footage of nurses that are on the front lines, and they're just ready to drop. And that's all, I think. It's all due to the current government, the Conservatives, that have defunded and destroyed the NHS to begin with. And then pretending now that, it's the best thing and they're putting money into it. Still not even a fraction of things. And one little thing that really sort of pisses me off is you're supposed to go out at 8 o'clock at night and clap for the NHS. And it's like, well, that's not going to do bloody nothing. What they need to do is pay them properly wages and fund them properly, and don't defund them anymore. And it really pisses me off. This whole thing, like this, is pretending to do this. But anyway, that's another matter. And what's been going on in the U.S. With Trump and the storming of the Capitol, it's just insane. And there's 70 million that voted for him, and let's even be sort of generous and say only 25 or 30 are insane. But the only way I can put it is insane. That's still a lot of people, and they're not going away. They're going to die. Those people are going to die believing that the presidency was stolen from Donald Trump. And so will he, if he even leaves on the 20th. But anyway, we hope everything sort of settles down. But the cat's out of the bag. It's the same as here in the UK. Racism is out of the bag because of Brexit. It's like okay to do things. It's going to take a long time for that to settle down, and in the States as well. But anyway, well, let's look on the brighter side of things. Let's hide in our books here, or not hide, but you need something to sort of look away from the realities of the world occasionally. And for me, it's books and films. Weather-wise here in the UK, it's been getting cooler. It's, for the last several days here where I am, it's been hovering around 0, which is really cold here for people. I don't find it that cold being originally from Canada, but it's a bit of a hardship here, and they're talking that it could go down to 5-10 below in general, go sub-zero temperatures here, Celsius. So that'll be something to see, but let's get into our Friday reads. I've spent, almost 5 minutes with a bit of a moan, so let's get to something more interesting. My Friday reads, this last week reading, I look around and I sort of think that, I haven't really read much at all. I haven't really done much reading. Sorry, I'm moving the camera here. But I have, in a roundabout way. I started early in the week. I was really excited to get to this and thinking that I'll probably be done by the end of the week. Wild Bill Wellman. It's a biography of William A. Wellman, the director, by his son. And I'm barely 100 pages into it, and I got sidetracked, as usual. I've been watching some films, and I sort of been digging out sort of film reviews, books that I have film reviews. And so I've been digging into those quite heavily. I'll show you a couple here because like I'd like to do a little thing of all the film review books I got, but there's several others that are down on the lower shelf that it has another little bookcase in front of it, and it has books piled in front of that bookcase, and then a table beside this with books on. So no time soon are those going to come to light. But I've been able to get a few things out that were sort of up higher. One is one of a series. I may have shown this on the last or at some other time. Selected Film Criticism, 1931 to 1940. It's edited by Anthony Slide. It's a slim book. Originally without jackets, by Scarecrow Press, 1982. It's part of a series. I think there was 8 or 9, and it starts right back to like 1896. So the ones that I really wanted to get were I think there's there's 3 prior to this. Is that right? They do list them here. Volume 1 is 1896 to 1911, 1912 to 1920, and then 1921 to 1930. And then, the 1931. But then even the 1940 to 1950 would be nice, or 41 to 50 would be cool too. But they're quite expensive. They're like, I keep an eye out. I look every so often for them because they're always on my mind. But it might be a while before I can get them. It is just a collection of reviews, and short. Some very, very short, and some like a page or two. For the most part, they're fairly short. And I've been going through, like, the index has just listed all the titles, so I've been going through and reading stuff that I'm currently watching and other ones, and just sort of rereading some rereading, and so not reading it from cover to cover. This is the kind of thing that's just not really warranted to do that. It would be a bit boring in a sense. And yeah, so I've been enjoying that. Another one is there's a series of these. This is the Dilys Powell, a film reader. She was a film critic for the Times here in England, and from about, I think, late 40s, I think. Yeah, very late, maybe 49 or 50, up until probably her death in like the early 90s. And I hadn't really delved into this, or never really looked at this, because I got this plus a few others. I've got the Humphrey Jennings Reader. Not so much reviews, a few reviews, but more essays on films. C.A. Lejeune, film reader. She, another female writer who wrote for The Observer. That I can't access at the moment. Hopefully I can dig it out shortly. See, some of these are the ones that I'm going to take a long time, and I think some others, I think I know where they are, so I might be able to get to those a bit easier, but it's a little bit of time. But anyway, so I got those, and then the piece de resistance is the Graham Greene film reader, and this is everything. This is a honking book. It's all his film writings, his reviews that he did for The Spectator, starting in the late 30s, I think 39 when he started, up into the 50s, maybe even 60. I'm not sure when he died. But yeah, and maybe even, I think there's a script in there too. But yeah, I've been really, because her, Dilys Powell's, like, her writing is fantastic. It's like, I enjoy these as much as reading, like, I enjoy reading old book reviews too. It depends on the writer. Some writers are like, it's sort of like Steve Donahue was saying, like, he's got a shelf for reviews like that. Excuse me. I don't particularly have a shelf for book reviews and that. I should. I might change this because usually the book reviews I throw into my essay section. They're not really essays, but they sort of are, and I class these sort of as well. These go with my film books because they're film, obviously. Connect the dots. So yeah, so I do it that way. But it's the thing is, it's like, you read some stuff that is just fantastic. And sometimes it's a book you don't know. It's like it's a forgotten book basically because it was hot at the time, or a film at the time, and it's like it makes you want to read some of this stuff or watch in this case, and the same as this one. And so I've been enjoying that. I also read, which I haven't. I gotta watch the reconstructed version, the 4-hour version of Greed. So I was able to slowly get through this essay. It is something I'll have to read again because I thought it was starting out to be very, very technical and a lot of theory. However, it wasn't so much. It's just that the writer is not very good. So it's very cumbersome. So it's a little difficult to follow his thread at times. But it was still interesting. I gained a lot of information and knowledge that I didn't quite know about the film. It's like, and it's one of these BFI film classics. This one is written by Jonathan Rosenbaum. It's also they're distributed by Paul Griff Macmillan. This is 1993, reprinted in 1994. They're doing a whole sort of revamp with new covers. This was the style they had before. Now they're coming out with new artwork. Actually, yeah, like interesting stuff. They're more colorful, the covers. I don't know how much the interiors are changing for the same titles and the same author. That's something that I haven't been able to, or not able to, but I just haven't even looked at that aspect of it. Many of these are discontinued now. They're out of print. I think they did, like, including the TV ones, they might have done like 200 and some titles. And most of them I'm not interested in. They're like all the silent ones I obviously am interested in. I've mentioned them before. It's not something I actively collect because they are expensive. Like this is only like 60 pages long. It's an essay, and I think it's $12.99 is the cover price, or $11.99 or something like that. So it's very pricey. See, I picked this up at a charity shop for like a couple pounds. It's rough, but it's all there. And yeah, and it's like I don't want to pay too much for these. I don't want to pay £10. But I would say, like, I've gone through the list before, and I figure there might be 25 to 30 titles that I'm interested in. They might be adding more occasionally as well. So I would say 25 to 30. So I would say 10% of what they've done is about interesting to me. But they are great. They are great. It's like if there is a film that you really like, and want sort of a good essay on it and good background, there's nowhere better to start than with one of these. Now, yeah, so that's, and then I've also been reading some magazines, backlog of magazines. Got a few more today. I got the oldie, which I haven't even opened up yet. It's got Dirk Bogarde on the cover, and there's Giles Brandreth, I think, writes about what's her name, who died from the Carry On gang that was on Barbara Windsor. So that'll be interesting, and some archaeology ones because I've canceled everything that I had for various reasons, because being out of work, and it's just an added cost I don't need. Some of them I have paid for a full year subscription, or for a quarter, or for half a year, or whatever. But also too, they're getting destroyed by idiot carriers. They fold them in half on the spine, like they fold them this way, like they fold them down, like fold them in half like this, and then shove them in. And so it breaks. So when it's a square thing, it just breaks, and it tears sometimes like an inch or two into it. So it's like some of these are not cheap magazines. But I also got my second National Geographic magazine finally. I'd been waiting for that. I can't remember whether I paid for a quarter or for half a year. I'm definitely there's no way I'll ever subscribe to this again. They're a third to a half the size that they used to be. They're pitiful. It's like they've just gone. It's just trashed. They've trashed National Geographic, where National Geographic used to be a good magazine with good articles, and I'm basing it on the two that I've received so far. And I was waiting sort of for the second one to sort of make my decision whether I would continue with it or not. I definitely won't. The photography, some of it is still very good. It's like you got brilliant photography, but then you got some that's just looks like amateur photography. So I don't quite understand that aspect of it either. But anyway, so I've been going through that, some archaeology magazines to backfill, basically reading. But I also received a few more of the books that I got, sort of bargain ones from Amazon. And if you remember, I showed 5 that I got so far. Trying to get it here. Book about film noir, which 2 more came today. Haven't really looked at this too much. And this was about Swedish film, women in Swedish film, but it's not all silent film, so it's going into areas that I'm not that familiar with, but I think this was the most expensive one, which might have approached to £2 or just over £2. Explorations of science fiction and fantasy films. I showed that already. And then this technology and culture and film reader. This looks pretty heavy duty. Thankfully, it's like, broke down into sections that are a page or so each. So yeah, that's how I'll approach it. And then this one here, romantic versus screwball comedy. And then companion. Well, no, I'll continue on because the film noir. I've got these two readers. I've wanted to get these for a long, long time. Film noir reader. This came out in 1996. I think this one 1999. It's by Limelight Press. They're reprints and some new writings on film noir. And this has more older stuff in than this one does. And there's even translations from French and I think German as well. I've started reading this one, or at least I've delved into a few essays. Some of them are interesting. The introduction, some of them are a bit confusing in a sense. I'm not so sure if confusing is the correct word, but I think film noir is one of those things that is not the easiest thing, let's put it that way, to describe and to identify. So there's a lot of going back and forth of sort of what it is, but then what it isn't. Some bits, and I think it's also to do with the quality of the writer, where I have to reread the section to find out what he's or she is actually saying. But it's a hit or miss because it's essays. It's a collection of essays, in a sense, or excerpts. So not everyone is going to be perfect, but these I've wanted to get for almost 20 years. There's 2 more. There's Volume 3 and Volume 4. Volume 3 is interviews, and I'm not sure what Volume 4 is. That wasn't too long ago, I don't think, put out. So I'm not sure what's in that one. But it's not so much essays anymore, like they did a different tact. The other one, there's one that I'm still waiting for. I don't know if I'm going to get it. It's on TV, American TV, 1948 to 1961, how sort of television shows became the way they are. And that sounded quite interesting for, £1 something. This one here, Story of Irish Film. This is a hefty book. It's heavy coated paper. I just got it because it's Kurak Press, which I don't know if it's I don't know the publisher, but it's 2005, first printing. That means anything. It's just birth of the cinema. So there's a general history of cinema, and it's sort of how Ireland, sort of so much the early history of filmmaking in Ireland is mainly the story of the production of feature films by foreign directors. Up until the late 1970s, the Irish contribution was confined almost entirely to shorts and documentaries. So yeah, so I just know very little of specifically, Irish filmmaking. I'm not too interested. Like when it passes 1960, my interest sort of wanes quite a bit of any kind of classic cinema, especially American or English-speaking classic cinema. And from the 30s for foreign non-language, after the 30s, it diminishes even quicker. But a silent film, it doesn't matter where it is. I'm interested in silent film. Period. So that's this one, and as I'm saying, this. Let's see if I can do a little bit of a pyramid here. So we got these. These are so far, so I should have 8 here. So we got the film noir ones, the technology ones. Let's see, how can I hold these properly? Then science fiction and fantasy, making invisible visible, women in Swedish film, and film noir again. About film noir. So that should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6. Oh yes. Romance versus screwball. I don't know. I've lost something here. I've lost something. One of them I can't find. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, that's 8. That is 8. No, that's correct. That's correct. Because I got the 9th one that hasn't come yet. And the other thing that came, I wanted something to go with the screwball comedy. It's not as substantial as I thought, but it was very cheap because this is oh, that's odd. It says St. James Press. I thought this was, it says Richard. Yeah, okay, that's why. I was expecting this to be McFarlane's imprint. McFarlane Scarecrow did these sort of bare, naked hardcovers. They're still in print, but McFarlane, I think, has been brought out by Rowan and Littlefield, which could be part of Taylor and Francis and all these things. So they've revamped stuff, and I think when they bought them out, this is a guess, but approximately 10 to 12 years ago, around that time, I noticed there was a flood of remainders of Scarecrow and McFarlane publications. Just a flood of them. And you could get these really cheap. And I've bought as many as I can. I wish I bought a lot more because they're such fantastic titles. And this one is the Screwball comedy films, A History and Filmography, 1934 to 1942, by Dwayne Burge and Robert Milton Miller. And as I say, this was originally by Scarecrow because that's what I bought or thought I was getting. And it was published here in the UK by St. James Press. Okay, fair enough. But as I say, it was not even £4, I think. I wasn't quite sure condition-wise what I was going to get. It's a bit slim. I'm not sure why they stopped at 1942, so I haven't actually had a look at this. I was hoping something a little more substantial because looking through at the films, I think there's only 1 or 2 that I haven't seen. So it's like, oh, okay. So it's not too helpful there. Another thing that I pulled out that I thought Jason Harrigan might be interested in, because I've got a section, and that's where some of my other review books are that are down lower. that is some horror and science fiction stuff. You'd be interested in maybe in the horror sort of essays that I've got. But this was one that was out of place that I was able to get. It's After Dracula, the 1930s horror film by Alison Parisi. And I've pulled this out. I've looked at it again briefly. I haven't read it from cover to cover. I've read sections of it, which I really enjoyed, and I enjoy her writing. Yeah, it's by IB Taurus Press. Had it for some time. Yeah, 2013. Had it for some time. Might have got this at a bookshop. Like a used bookshop, even though it's brand new. But it's probably about 6 years since I've read anything of it, and it was sort of, I pulled it off because I've got some of those other ones. I got the American Gothic, English Gothic, and I've got another one that's 1930s horror, as well as the Universal Horror book. So I had pulled those out because I was watching some of that, so I wanted something to reference. On the cover here is The Black Cat by director Edgar G. Ulmer. It's the Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi film. It's a great, it's not really anything to do, to be honest, with the Edgar Allan Poe story, but other than name, basically in name only. But it's very, very cool looking. And we're getting back to silent films again. Edward G. Ulmer, German filmmaker. Him and Robert Siodmak directed People on Sunday, which is a fabulous sort of. There's no actors. It's sort of like, it's literally just some young people, what they do on Sunday, and it's filmed, and it's showing walking in the streets of Berlin and going to the beach, wherever that is. And it's just a fantastic film, and it's got a lot of, it's like Billy Wilder was one of the writers. There's Robert Siodmak, but director, and there's Kurt Siodmak, who came to Hollywood as well, and he wrote a lot of screenplays. He did the like The Invisible Man or something, that I forget which one it is. It's the one where the Invisible Man goes to Nazi Germany. But he wrote a lot of other stuff, and I forget who else is in there. Oh, William Dieterle maybe was another one. But yeah, there's just so many people. But it's just interesting because a lot of, and the film noir as well, a lot of that stuff goes back to the silent films. You've got Fritz Lang, you've got a lot of these that go back to silent film people. So it all sort of connects through to me, which I really like that. I like the connections. Something else that I got today, just actually a little while ago, I'm very, very excited about. I normally wouldn't have been able to buy it. I wouldn't have bought it. But I had a belated Christmas Amazon gift certificate. So I added a little bit of money to it, and I was really surprised to find out that I could transfer that to Amazon France. And they've just put out, it's literally just come out, like it's hot off the presses, as you were, is the new restoration of Abel Gance's La Rue. It previously was put out by Flickr Alley in the States, I think about 4.5 hours long. This is a new restoration that was shown in 2019. September, I think, 2019 at a film festival. October, I think it was. And then September 2020, it was shown on French TV. It's 7 hours now is the restoration of this film of his, 1923. I've seen it in the cinema, the 4.5 hour version, with sort of live accompanied music. Somebody, I think it was, forget his name, but it was somebody. He was able to play piano and violin at the same time. so that was quite exciting to watch. But it's interesting because they got some coloration, as you can see the red lights, and there is some red in it and green. Red a lot because there's a train wreck at the beginning and somebody's hand comes out of the wreckage and it's red, all bloody, and a woman hanging down and there's sort of a red blob sort of going from her head. So it's I'd not seen that before, so I'm assuming it's authentic. The other thing that's nice with this, I'm going to have to do some major translation with Google. There's a nice booklet, 140-page booklet, I think it is. Yeah, 140-page booklet with essays on it. And they're in sort of little, I think they call them digipacks for the films, little things like this. So I think they've learned because they used to have like cardboard things that they shoved the discs in and they all just got scratched up. So this is a nice little production. I like this. But yeah, so I'm very, very pleased to get this. So it's, as I say, 7 hours to watch. So I now have also another thing that's coming at some point is well, there's 3 major films that I suppose you could say that Abel Gance did. It was 1919, I think it was, J'accuse. I've got a limited edition French set that's coming. It's got 3 books that size, I think, with it. Again, it's just, everything. I was able to do this, thankfully. I spent more than I should have, the circumstances, but I wanted these. These are things that I want. And then the BFI has put out the Napoleon, which is about 6 hours long, I think, the current reconstruction of it. And it's just, he was Abel Gance was wanting to make I think six films of Napoleon. So let's just think of 6 hour, 7 hour or whatever films, silent films, glorious. Spend a week or two just every day going for 5 hours or something like that, or and I've seen Napoleon twice at the Royal Festival Hall. It takes all day basically. You start and you have a break, you have a lunch break, and I've seen it twice with Carl Davis orchestral score and him playing for the orchestra, I think it was the London Symphony Orchestra, I think it is, or the London Philharmonic, maybe it was, because I think they stopped doing it. The London Symphony did. Last they did, I think, was Ben-Hur, however many years ago there, and that was fantastic as well. Sadly, the print that they used, or at least or something with the screen, was a bit problematic. But if anybody's familiar with that, or if you're not, do check out on YouTube. Just type in Abel Gance Napoleon triptych. It's the final scenes, and basically what happens is you got the normal screen on. Like this, you're watching in the cinema, and then the last curtains wide out like this, and you got 3 full screens, and you've got the triptych. You've got 3 cameras going, and sometimes it's the same scene, and the connections don't make perfectly, or they're different scenes of things that are happening at the same time, but it's bloody glorious to see on big screen, like anything on TV. And if you're watching it on your phone or anything like that on YouTube, you won't even get the sense of it, especially with resounding music as well with it. But it's just fantastic to see it in the cinema, like 3 huge screens. It's just wonderful, and I'm lucky I've been able to see that twice. And I've got the BFI Blu-ray of it as well that came out shortly after that. So now I've got like the pinnacle of Abel Gance, I think, as far as I can tell. But I'm sure there's more. There's a lot more that he did that I just haven't seen. There's so much. Anyway, oh, crikey, this has gone on way too long. But anyway, I hope everybody's doing well and stay safe and enjoy your weekend and hopefully have a good weekend and week reading. I'm just going to continue on what I'm doing. Hopefully, get back into the William Wellman biography and a few other things. And I'm not sure whether I'm going to dig into 7 hours of LaRue anytime soon, but I might spend a day doing it. Anyway, take care, BookTube. All the best.